It was not modified. Prosecution rejects claim that controversial text message in Vybz Kartel murder case was tampered with. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, he's back. An old face returns at the helm of Petrojam.
Stinky situation. Soldiers and police working in raw sewage in Zozo community.
Banana ripening gone wrong. How the process resulted in an explosion in a Portland community.
And in business news, businessman seeks compensation after Flow's network downtime left him stranded.
There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast. But before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, how should the authorities treat with people who live in close proximity to dump sites?
Share comments online, facebook.com/television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns right after this break.
Primetime News headlines on Friday.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
Special welcome to folks on onespotmedia.com.
Up first this evening, prosecutors today ripped into the arguments made by lawyers for the appellants in the Vybz Kartel murder case.
The prosecutors slammed the arguments made against the admissibility of cell phone evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, the trial judge's summary of the case, as well as concerns about a damning text message.
Kartel is appealing the life sentence imposed on him in 2014 for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. TVJ's Vashon Brown is covering the appeal and was in court today and now reports.
4 days of arguments by the lawyers representing the appellants. 4 days of arguments by the lawyers representing the appellants. Today, it was the time to hear the prosecution's side of the story. First up, the controversial text message. Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions Orette Brown told the court that although the file with the chop-up message was created on July 6, 2011, 6 weeks before Lizard's murder, that specific message was dated August 19, 2011. In other words, the prosecutors said that there was no direct evidence to say that the message itself was modified or tampered with. So put another way, the prosecutors told the court that the date and timestamp for the message were intact. Note too that August 19, 2011 is 3 days after prosecutors say Lizard was killed. The file with the text was also modified on September 30, 2011, after the phone was taken from Kartel. Mr. Brown said even if there's a question of possible modification of the controversial text, questions of possibility are for the jury to decide. The second issue, the admissibility of cell phone evidence. The Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions today argued that the judge was not wrong for admitting the evidence. He said gaps in continuity are not fatal to the Crown's case. It's a matter for the jury to decide. He further argued that gaps in continuity do not speak to admissibility. It affects weight, sufficiency, and cogency. Now, the gaps in continuity issue came about because of the argument that the cell phone was being used while it was in the custody of the police. In the 2014 trial, a police investigator admitted that there was an outgoing text message on the phone on October 1, 2011, which read, "Who am I?" Note here that the police took the phone from Kartel on September 30, 2011. The police investigator explained to the court during the trial that the text is a way some telecommunications company established the identity of a mobile device. Today, the prosecution maintained that the use of the phone was not malicious. The investigator also admitted that there were 3 outgoing calls on October 9, 2011. In explaining why, the investigator told the 2014 trial that perhaps the phone dialed itself. Today, the Assistant Director of Public Prosecution said, "I will not attempt to advance an explanation." He again pointed out that there was no direct evidence to suggest that the phone was tampered with. He pointed out that in the absence of direct evidence, then it's only a possibility. Matters of possibility, according to the prosecution, are for the jury to decide. The prosecution also argued that in his summation gave proper instructions to the jury about how to treat with gaps in continuity, telling them that they must be satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge about how to deal with contradictions as well as credibility of witnesses. Credibility, again, as the prosecution argued, is a matter for the jury to decide. Now, the lead prosecutor, Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Jeremy Taylor, also made oral submissions today. He took on the specific issue of prosecutorial misconduct, specifically relating to the actions of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn. The DPP has been criticized for being prepared to allow the appellants to be tried by a jury that was not impartial. Mr. Taylor said there was no evidence that the DPP acted maliciously. The appeal continues on Monday. Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
The summer heat has caused some Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC drivers to cool off in the air conditioning on buses that are not in service. Authorities at JUTC call the practice idling and are threatening to get tough on drivers who are caught. TVJ's Kirk Wright explains.
At North Parade in downtown Kingston, buses assigned to various routes parked in designated lanes awaiting passengers. Across the road, at the St. William Grand Park, more buses. But it's not clear why they've made it a habit to park there, and the management of the JUTC appears clueless about the matter.
It has not been brought to my attention, or certainly the attention of operations, but it is something that we are prepared to look into and to make the necessary corrective measures if indeed our operators are in fact doing so.
One thing for sure, at times they're parked for extended periods with engines running and their air conditioning left on. This bus in particular was parked for over an hour with its engine running, its front door left open and water dripping from the back, a clear sign that the air conditioning was also left on. And if that wasn't enough, the battery in that bus was working overtime. The lights were also left on.
Idling of buses is really a challenge for us. Much of it is as a result of poor driver behavior, and it is something that we try to incorporate in their training, that they ought to desist from it.
The JUTC says buses consume petrol even when it's left to idle. The thing is, the JUTC is not yet able to quantify the impact this has had on their fuel bill, but the fact is, it does.
I think in April we spent in the region of 191, and in May $212 million on fuel.
Good news is the JUTC has recently acquired technology to track the idling of buses among a host of other infractions its drivers may engage in.
We have a technology that we call RMA. It is not on all 500 of the buses that we have now in our fleet. We do have them on several of the units, which enables us to see where exactly a bus is located, whether or not it is in fact idling.
As for parking in the general area, including parking on the sidewalk, the CEO at the Kingston and St. Andrews, that should not happen. The corporation doesn't have the capability to remove JUTC buses breaking the law like this one. It would require a record seen here that's only owned by the JUTC. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
The changes are continuing at Petrojam, with a permanent manager to be appointed come Monday. News of the change came late this evening. TVJ's Dashan Hendricks has that primetime news update.
Down but not out. The Public Administration and Appropriations Committee was told on Wednesday that the scandal-plagued state-run oil refinery Petrojam will rise again. On Friday, news came that it will rise under its previous general manager, Winston Watson. Mr. Watson was on a secondment at the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica. PCJ will resume his duties as a general manager at Petrojam come Monday. He told TVJ News he was informed about the development on a Friday. His reappointment has already found favor with the opposition People's National Party.
I think it is a very positive development. Winston has served in that capacity before. He has served at the PCJ as the group managing director during his tenure, and he has served both on the JP and PNP administration, and there have never been these types of issues. He's a competent public servant, and we would welcome his return there.
Mr. Watson's return follows the recent resignation of Floyd Grindley after allegations of nepotism, corruption, and cronyism at Petrojam. Telroy Morgan has been acting since. The new chairman of Petrojam, Paul Hu, in a statement thanked Mr. Morgan for his service and said he would be an integral part of the rebuilding process. But Julian Robinson maintains his party's stance that more personnel changes should be made at Petrojam.
The change can't just be at the level of the CEO. There are other positions where there needs to be changes as well. because unfortunately what happened at Petrojam is that it no longer was a meritocracy where people got into positions based on either qualifications, experience, or performance. It just became a system of cronyism.
Dashan Hendricks, TVJ News.
Murders may be trending down in Denham Town, Kingston, which is under a zone of special operations. But the security forces are now having to contend with a new scourge, raw sewage. TVJ's Kalisha Williams was in the area today.
It's murky. It smells. It's raw sewage. It's murky. It smells. It's raw sewage flowing through Chestnut Lane in West Kingston. Vehicles take the treacherous journey on the rugged terrain, some splashing the filthy water everywhere. This child, who often goes without shoes, can pick up germs from the water, but while the people in the community can close their gates, these JDF soldiers are stationed here. The sewage flowing right under their noses. The area is currently under a zone of special operations, so the soldiers are here for hours these days, and even as murders are trending down in the area, the raw sewage fires up a foul smell.
This appears to be a persisting problem. Residents say the drainage system is simply no good. Simply flushing their toilets will send raw sewage like this into the streets.
We moved from Chestnut Lane to Pink Lane. No problem for residents. But on the contrary, it doesn't seem safe. The house is a disaster waiting to happen. Surprisingly, although the situation seems harrowing and unhealthy, two of the soldiers indicated it's what they're trained for. They say their duty is to serve by all means. The zone of special operations has been declared in Denham Town since October 2017 and was recently extended for another 60 days. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Our top story today, prosecutors.
Zones of special operations has been declared in Denham Town since October 2017 and was recently extended for another 60 days. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Our top story today, prosecutors in Vybz Kartel case slam arguments made against the admissibility of cell phone evidence. And still ahead this evening, police investigate murder of family of 3 and
Welcome back. Continuing the news. Residents of Boston and Portland are appealing to the authorities to do something about the water quality from their pipes. The people say it's making them sick. TVJ's Janetta Perseus has the details.
What have in common? Chances are, if you live in the area, you would know.
The water comes from the top. It's salt.
Having heard the complaints from several residents, I did a taste test and found that the claim was true. Not only did the water have a salty taste, but when it was collected in this bucket, it was discolored.
I can't drink this. You know, hurt my belly. You see, when rain fall enough, it don't salt. But you see, after rain finish and it fall enough, it don't salt. But you see, after rain finish and it going down, it gets salt, have a moldy taste. Because right now we're moldy.
This runs contrary to the accolades the country received in 2012, 2013 and 2014 when it won awards for the best drinking water in the entire Caribbean by the Caribbean Water and Waste Association. In a 2014 article by the Jamaica Information Service, Vice President for Legal Affairs at the National Water Commission NWC, Kevin Williams, was quoted as saying, "The judges said, hands down, Jamaica's piped water was the best and also to some of the bottled water they have tasted. But in some sections of Portland, the water quality is not up to standard."
The faucets, the shower head, the pipe tops, all of that, you have to change them regular. It's something that we have to change as often as we can because the salt just destroy them.
Colin Bell is the operator of the Boston Beach Complex.
I train my staff and if people come in and ask for a drink of water, we don't give it to them. We tell them straight up, with this water, we wouldn't give it to you to drink. So it's either you buy.
Like the residents, he's been complaining to the authorities.
NWC told us in a meeting at Sherwood Forest that the quality was checked and they don't see any harm. I just listened to that, but I can't work with that. the member of parliament had asked him if an independent check was done. No, that was not done. I would love to see an independent check done, independent of the Water Commission, to see if this water is really hurting people.
When contacted, Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Charles Buchanan, explained that Boston is served from a well source, which also supplies other areas.
We are faced with a significant challenge where there is some level of saline intrusion, where essentially salt water is mixing with the fresh water.
He says a long-term solution is being sought. Janela Precious, TVJ News.
The Constant Spring CIB is following leads into Wednesday's murder of a woman and 2 children in Mavis Bank, St. Andrew. 29-year-old Kashif Jackson and 1-year-old Avier Williams and 7-day-old Aranza Williams were found dead at their home in Tower Hill. They were found by a relative at their 1-bedroom house. The room was also set ablaze. Crime Chief for the Area 5 Police Headquarters, Superintendent Derek Champagny, told our news center that Miss Jackson's body had chop wounds. He said a post-mortem will be conducted to determine the cause of death of the children. It's suspected that they died from smoke inhalation.
A man is dead while another narrowly escaped injury, and 3 men are in custody following a shooting incident at Bailey's Vale in St. Mary this morning. Police say it happened about 9:30 Friday morning. They say Damian Gardner, who operates a taxi in Port Maria, was sitting in his vehicle with a friend when they were attacked. A man who did not want to appear on camera says the men were helping him with a round-robin planned for this evening.
Just as me asked them to go get some ketchup and something to put in the soup for me. Them come back and hand me the bag and them attack. So me gone inside now, gone ox some coconut. By me I ox the first coconut me hear some shot fire. So me I say wait, I wish he did that out a fire shot and party not started. But by the time me rush out and look out, and my brethren that I see them put in a car, I even get shot.
A dark blue van, believed to be a Noah or a Voxy, drove up and stopped for a moment. Someone from the van then came out and opened fire at the now deceased. His friend ran, however, Gardner received several gunshots, and he was rushed to the Port Maria Hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Head of the St. Mary Police, Superintendent Bobbitt Morgan, says an off-duty police chased the gunman to a house in Trinityland, Albion Mountain. The vehicle used in the shooting was found.
On the face of it, this looks like the result of a demolition exercise, but it isn't.
It sounds like a boom to me, like something explodes. Like, you know, like when the electrical pan kick off. That sound here, you know?
The sound of the explosion caused many to run for cover, including the 35 children attending vacation Bible school at the Kensington Methodist Church. The impact, we were told, was equally frightening.
When the electrical pan kick off, that sound here, you know?
The sound of the explosion caused many to run for cover, including the 35 children attending vacation Bible school at the Kensington Methodist Church. The impact, we were told, was equally frightening.
The place was shaking. We began to run to the They had already secured the children, and some of the children are under the table sitting. And we were able to move all of them outside into an open space that were considered to be safe.
3 adults sustained minor injuries. Residents say about 5 houses were damaged. A joint investigation by the Manganiel Police and the Portland Fire Department was immediately launched. It was revealed that the explosion came from a 40-foot container, which was being used to ripen bananas and plantains.
I was told that the chemical ethylene was used in the process of ripening the bananas. So that was something that was used in the container, which generates a lot of heat. And there were 2 AC units that used as cooling mechanism for the containers, but one of the AC unit was out of service at the time.
Investigations are continuing. Janela Precious, TVJ News.
Another entity is calling for drastic measures to be taken to deal with the frequency of dump fires across the country following the smoke nuisance this week from the retirement dump fire in St. James. The Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce says considering the impact of the smoke from the retirement dump as well as from previous fires, some members are seriously considering relocating.
Smoke from the retirement dump blanketed sections of St. James for almost a week.
The situation is nothing short of a disaster. We have seen it, we have felt it, we have been inundated with horrible experiences from residents of the surrounding communities, including our own members.
President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Winston Lawson, at an emergency press conference, lamented that up to Thursday, he, like several other residents, woke up to smoke. On Sunday,
we have brought the smoke nuisance under control. Since this morning, we have no smoke over the city of Montego Bay. Notwithstanding the fact that the fire was out Monday evening, the smoke was giving us a challenge.
Checks with the surrounding communities confirmed that the smoke had subsided. However, for first Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce,
on for over a week, and a fire that happened weeks before. So it has been a repeat. It is something that is consistent now. And am I to believe that there's no hope of finding a solution?
business operators like Joy Clark, CEO of Enjoy the Journey, and Chamber Vice President say it is a recurring disaster.
And in particular that we are on showcase with Songfesto, which is a calendar event open to the world and all the visitors to the second city. The event is happening in the area that it is most noticeable, and it is not representative of what we want to show off as a tourism product.
There is obvious impact on product and service providers, serious impact on productivity, and raises serious concerns for our tourism capital.
With dwindling trust in the NSWMA's ability to not only control but prevent recurrences, the Chamber
to preparedness and emergency management to urgently look at this current disaster and provide whatever assistance for resolve.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the NSWMA Director Audley Gordon said the people who live on the dump are now being relocated. On Sunday, he said the fire was started by one of these persons.
We're talking to HAJ, because we look in lands and we look at some alternate arrangements for them. And, you know, in all of this, we have to try and be humane also. So we want to move them in an orderly manner. We want to look at the alternatives and then remove them. We have been very clear and will not resile on the fact that they have to move. So it's the how that is being sorted out now.
6 persons have been nominated for the 4 vice president posts in the People's National Party. Dr. Peter Phillips was the sole nominee for the post as president.
Michael Phillips, Philip Paulwell, Dr. Wickham McNeil, Damian Crawford, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, and Dr. Angela Brownberg.
I have experience in the party, I understand the party, I love the party, I've been a member for years, functional. I also have regional responsibility.
My own experience have been to work with people, to work with the most vulnerable, to be compassionate, and I be building process with a new leader. I believe a Fenton Ferguson still has great value.
I am the next member of the Shadow Cabinet who has served the longest in any cabinet.
for the work that I was able to achieve in technology, the liberalization of telecommunications, the opening up of our motor vehicle policy, the successes that we've had in the establishment of the Universal Service Fund to enable ordinary Jamaicans to have access to broadband technology, and fund to enable ordinary Jamaicans to have access to broadband technology, and what we have done in energy.
The best way that I can serve is to go out there and become disciples to the young people in the context of where the PNP currently is and where the country's politics currently is. And there's no other person, I believe, in the party that can better go and speak to the masses and deliver the People's National Party history, the People's National Party ideology, and the People's National Party future.
We don't have footage of Michael Phillips nominating, but we have captured the others who shared their aspirations on becoming vice presidents.
I want you to remember that one of the things that I am passionate about is strengthening the party and making sure that not just that we win an election and form government, but that we have a strong political party with a soul that stands for principle, fairness, equity, social justice, yeah? Building a Jamaica that is safe, where everybody can have an opportunity to be socially and economically empowered.
The General Secretary, Julian Robinson, says the nomination process went smoothly and that the election for the posts are not far away.
The elections for the positions of vice presidents will take place during the party's 80th annual conference, which is going to be the second weekend of September at the National Arena.
Kirk Wright.
Primetime News local segment.